What's going on YouTube? Ryan and Alex back for Dopemon once again, and today we are looking at the Honda West Division for 2021 upcoming season. We already done the North Division. It's up already on the channel, so if you haven't seen that yet,
Yeah,
we'll
go
link it.
check that one out.
We'll link it in the description. We'll put a card up there for you. Um, 8 teams in this division, unlike 7 in the North. It's a little more top heavy this division, I think. Without giving too much away for our predictions, it's a little top heavy with some of the best teams in the league up top and some of the not so best ones toward the bottom. But we'll start off. We'll start off with the Colorado Avalanche. Colorado Avalanche, 42-20-8 last year. Were third in goals for, sixth in goals against. Very good season for them last year. They
Yeah,
lost.
speaking of being top heavy.
Yeah, they lost in the second round to the Dallas Stars in a crazy series. Um, had I think some of the two of the best additions to any team this year. They got Devon Taves and Brendan Saad in separate trades and got rid of Nikita Zadorov and Vlad Nemestikov were
hmm
their key departures. What do you think about this team, Alex?
Yeah, they were able to make up for the departure. They lose a D, but they added a D, right? So I don't see that as much of a loss, and I see them coming out just as competitive as they were last year.
Yeah, and they were McKinnon was leading this team in the playoffs. McKinnon was an absolute world beater in the playoffs.
Mhm.
They got hurt, especially in net, and it's unfortunate because I had them picked as my last year as my Western Conference finalists with Tampa Bay, and they probably would have if they didn't have to start their third and fourth goalie. I think Michael Hutchison ended up playing goal
Mhm.
for this team and getting a couple wins. Like that's how good they were. They had Michael Hutchison in net, and they were still kicking ass, man. And yeah, I think if Grubauer and Francouz, I think that's a solid combination. I think people are
Yeah, I
sleeping
do
on.
like that. Nice 50-50 tandem. I really like that.
Yeah, I think people are sleeping on the goaltenders in Colorado, saying, "Oh, we're not
hmm
sure about them." I don't know. I think Grubauer and Francouz can do their thing come playoff time if they're healthy, of course. Um, and of course, I have Nathan McKinnon as my Hart Trophy winner this
All
year.
right.
I think he's gonna absolutely dominate, especially in this division. He's gonna go absolutely crazy, and Colorado's a lot of people's Cup favorites. Every time I hear,
Mhm.
who's your
Yeah.
Stanley Cup prediction, Colorado's on a lot of people's lists.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. That's they've definitely been a cup contender for me. I definitely think they could do it. My only concern for them on is depth on D. If there are a few injuries, I can see it kind of decimating them. But I think that they have such a good team up front that it'll make up for it, and could certainly make a trade come if there is injury. But other than that, that's
Yeah, and
as
they're
long as they
one.
stay healthy, I think they can be they will be a fantastic team.
Yeah, and Joe Sakic's done a great job with his team to the point where they could add things at the
Mm-hmm.
deadline
They have
rentals
the room
because they
for
have
it.
the cap room for it,
Mm-hmm.
which is not.
And the pieces for it as well. Like they have an abundance. Good
Yeah,
job for Joe
which
Sakic.
is something that not a lot of people, not a lot of teams can say, especially contending teams. All right, moving on down the list. The Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas Golden Knights lost last year in the Western Conference Finals in overtime to the Dallas Stars. I was watching that game. I was
Mm-hmm.
devastated. I was
Same.
rooting for the Golden Knights.
That was a crazy game, crazy series. Glad it happened.
2019-2020, they had 39 wins, 24 losses, and 8 OTLs. 10th in goals for and 14th in goals against. So, middle of the pack in a couple, in one category, but, they're still doing their thing. But Vegas, in the offseason, landed the biggest fish.
Yeah, this is the biggest name in the entire offseason.
They got the biggest fish. They got Alex Petrangelo. What do you think that does for this team?
I think it puts them way over the edge now. I think that they have a chance to, you know, be the number one team, maybe even in the entire league because of how weak this division might be. That they might just take it because of him. I think that he's an absolute unit. He more than makes up for the loss of Nate Schmidt. And that's it's an improvement. Like they're just getting better, and they're going to come back. They were that close to the finals, the last playoffs, and with Pietrangelo on the team, they are going to be, the Stanley Cup winner right there, captain of his old team. Like they're going to have, some presence right there. That's definitely going to make a huge impact, and maybe this year put them back in the finals like they did in their first year.
Yeah, I think so too. Key departures: Paul Stastny, Nate Schmidt, like you said, Derek Englund, I believe, retired. John Merrill's also not there anymore. They have the best goaltending tandem, I think, in the league.
I couldn't agree more. I think Marc-Andre Fleury is still like a starting goaltender on many teams.
Yep.
I think he is still that good. And Robin Leonard, I've always been a fan of Robin Leonard. I think he's in his peak.
Yep.
Right in his prime, just kicking ass out there, and then they've got it. They got it down, no problems.
Yeah. The only question mark I have for this team is, and it's not even like a tangible thing, and I hate talking about this in like a prediction video, but room chemistry. Removing two guys like Nate Schmidt and Derek Englund, two guys that were leaders, two guys that were very vocal, according to people around the Vegas Golden Knights in that dressing room. Obviously, we're not there, but
yeah.
You lose those two guys, even though you bring in a guy like Pietrangelo, it doesn't always click right away. So that's the only question mark, honestly, I have for this team, and that's I'm reaching. We're reaching for that. I think this team is really good. I think this team is really good and can do some damage, do some real damage upcoming season. All right, next team. St. Louis Blues. St. Louis lost in the first round to Vancouver, to a hot Vancouver team. People forget, before I stayed into this, they just won the Cup 2 years ago. People are discounting this team already, I find. Anyway, 42, 19, and 10. Great record last year. 11th in goals for, 7th in goals against. Obviously lost Alex Pietrangelo. That was the biggest departure for this team. But they gained Torrey Krug, Mike Hoffman, Kyle Clifford, and Steen and Bouwmeester lost to retirement.
And we have Tarasenko's injured right now, right?
Yeah, Tarasenko's injured. He's there's breaking news, last few days that he's gonna go in for another shoulder surgery, or he might go in for a shoulder surgery. We don't know. But yeah, his future for this season is kind of up in the air. People are saying he's gonna come back, March, April, May, somewhere in there, and be ready for the playoffs. But he's been so injured the last couple of years that, who knows? Who knows with Vlad Tarasenko? I hope he's ready to go, because if he comes back to this team, it's a huge addition, obviously.
Yeah, that's because I don't think that if you lose Tarasenko, lose Steen, lose Pietrangelo, I don't think you make up for that with adding Hoffman, adding Clifford, adding Krug. I think those are all like steps down, if anything. Tarasenko for Hoffman, Steen for Clifford, Pietrangelo for Krug. Like, I don't see those as improvements. Almost like they're holes in the roster that they're trying to patch.
Yep.
And I don't see this being like an improved roster from last year, and that's my concern with the team.
Yeah, my concern is actually, it's not even guys up front, and it might be a little questionable for me to say this, but Jake Allen is gone.
That's another one.
Jordan Bennington.
They never addressed the goalie loss.
Jordan Bennington is a good goalie.
Great goalie.
Struggled in the playoffs. They had to, they flipped back and forth to Jake Allen. Jordan Bennington no longer has a fallback guy, a guy that, a 1A, 1B situation. He's the guy now. I think the backup going into this year is going to be, Ville Husso, I think.
Yeah. He also doesn't have a guy to fall back on. Like, he doesn't have the playoff win to fall back on either, Like last year, you could say, well, he won the cup, so you got to give him a chance. This year, if he starts to struggle, it's like, this is a contract year for him. What's he gonna sign if he has if he struggles a little bit and is more of a 1B or a backup goalie?
Yeah. So
what does St. Louis do? They don't have a starting goalie, and they're like,
Yep, he's the guy. He's gonna have to bring it now, and it's always goaltending is always is the biggest part, I think, of any team, especially in a short season like this. And Husso is gonna get some playing time. So we'll see what he is. I don't think he's ever started an NHL game before. Bring him up. I don't think he has any NHL experience. Played 42 games last year in San Antonio. But he was, I
Only
think,
has
gonna
a
be.
AHL experience.
I think he was gonna be the guy before Bennington kind of ran onto the scene. I think Husso
Fair.
was hurt when that happened, and that's why they had to go to a guy like Bennington. And then Bennington just ran with it. But Husso was still there. But that's it. Those are the two guys. You got Joel
And,
Hofer.
Husso was
That's it.
Bennington's age when he pulled that off too. So yeah, who knows?
Anyway, moving on. Minnesota Wild.
This is wild.
The Wild lost the qualifying round. Didn't get in the playoffs, lost to Vancouver. 2019, 2020, 35, 27, and 7, respectable record. 14th in goals for, 22nd in goals against. Key arrivals, Cam Talbott was brought in. Devin Dubnik shipped out to San Jose. Marcus Johansson, Nick Bonino, Nick Bustad. And a guy I'm really interested in watching is Kaprizov. Finally comes over from Russia. Other guys they had to get rid of was Eric Stahl, Luke Cunnin, Mikko Koivu, their longtime captain, Ryan Donato, and Alex Galchenyuk. So there's a lot of turnaround in Mini.
Yeah, it's a big change.
A lot of turnaround. A lot of guys that have some question marks attached to them. Cam Talbot being probably the biggest. Is Cam Talbot going to be able to start in Minnesota? Is he their guy? Is he the answer to their goaltending troubles from last year? Because Dubnik did not have a good year. Stalock was good, but he wasn't starting. I don't think he's a starter in the NHL. And a couple guys with big question marks, Bonino, Bukestad, they're guys. And Kirill Kaprizov. Kirill Kaprizov has a huge question mark coming over from Russia. Highly touted, but you never know with these guys. But
you never know how they adjust to the North American ice, because as good as they are, it is a huge change, huge adjustment. There is that less space along the board, so.
And the fourth spot in this division is kind of jump ball. I think we can all agree that the three teams we just listed before
are the top three.
Are going to be the top three. There's not a whole lot of teams that can in the rest of this division that I think are going to knock off Colorado, Vegas, and St. Louis. Fourth is up for grabs. Fourth is jump ball. Minnesota, to me, plays such a boring brand of hockey. Boring being they're very stifling. There's not a lot of offensive firepower, even with a guy like Zach Parise on a huge contract or Kaprizov coming in. But if they're not careful, they're gonna find themselves kind of on the way out. Kind of similar to the Nashville Predators, who we'll talk about later in another video. They're kind of on the verge of not being a competitive team anymore. And is Talbot the guy? I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. Move on to the Arizona Coyotes. Almost called them Phoenix. The Arizona Coyotes. Lost in the first round to the Colorado Avalanche. Kind of got dunked on by the Avalanche. It was not close.
Nice ass whooping.
It was not close. I think Darcy Kemper dragged that team to one win in that series, I'm pretty sure. But
yeah.
Rest of it was not close. 33, 29, and 8. 23rd in the league in goals for, but 4th in goals against, thanks to the goaltending down there. Some key arrivals: Tyler Pitlick, Johan Larsson, John Hayden, and Freddie the Goat. Freddie Gauthier. Big addition. Obviously, the biggest departure, Taylor Hall, no longer there. Michael Grabner, Brad Richardson, Vinny Hinostroza, Carl Soderberg. Biggest thing for me on this team, where is your offense coming from?
Yeah, they didn't do anything to address their top six. Their scoring, Kessel isn't the point per game guy he was. He's not going to put up 30 goals. Who's going to score a goal?
Yep.
Who's going to put the puck in the net? And I almost think that Derek Brassard is the biggest addition that they've made.
Oh yeah, Derek Brassard. I forgot about him.
But your third line center, it's the problems are up top, and they didn't fix any of that. And They're not going to get any goals.
Yeah, I mean,
Not going to score.
for
Keep the
this,
puck out of the net. Their D's all right, but like if you can't do anything with it once you gotten out, then it's going to come back.
yeah, you gotta have someone that can score goals. This team doesn't have one, and Phil Kessel has in the past, but he's best, and people have said this. I'm the first person to say this. He's best when he's a complementary piece and not the guy. I'm a Leaf fan. I know this shit. I know Phil Kessel.
When he was the guy, it was Lupul, Bozak, and Kessel as your first line. Like, oof.
And
third line.
Phil Kessel obviously had a bad year last year. A lot of guys in this team had bad years offensively. But who's going to score your goals?
And yeah, what have they done to improve that, to make sure they get, more goals this year? Nothing. And that's the problem for me, that they're just like, oh, we'll just run with it.
Yep. I think this year the kids are going to have to step up big time. And the kids being Clayton Keller, Christian Dvorak, Lawson Krause, Barrett Hayton, maybe Jacob Chikrin, but he's not an offensive guy on the back end. But your future guys had got to be the guys this year offensively if this team is to go anywhere, in my opinion.
And they got to get the dirty goals, right? If they don't have a sniper who can put it in from the top of the circle, get the puck in a dirty way anyway. They got to make it happen and have to step up to that plate. And if it's going to be a real test for those kids, that this is their chance to take it. Yeah. And if they can't, then that's it.
Yeah, we got to manufacture some offense in Arizona, guys. They're this. This team is, this team is done if they can't get a guy to step up offensively. All right, moving on. The San Jose Sharks. Last year, fell off a cliff. Missed the qualifiers. Had a 29-36-5 record. 27th in goals for, 28th in goals against. They were bad. Very bad. Didn't really do a lot to change their core.
Nothing.
They brought Devin Dubnik in. They brought Patrick Marleau back. And they got Ryan Donato. Those are the guys I think make the most impact. Obviously, guys that left. Lost Aaron Dell. Lost Melker Karlsson, who wasn't a big addition, big part of that team. No. But they lost Melker Karlsson. And they lost Jumbo. They lost Joe. I don't think this team...
And there's one other thing that they might lose this season. Evander Kane.
Yeah.
News just coming out.
Yeah, news just coming out last night for us that Evander Kane has got some money problems, is going to declare bankruptcy, or has declared bankruptcy, and may have his contract terminated. San Jose Sharks. If that happens, I have no idea what this team, how that affects this team.
For them.
I don't know if that affects them so much that it decimates their offense, because they still have some guys. But
I almost thought he might have been their best forward now, with
probably is.
Right? And now he isn't. Now he's gone, and it's like, okay, well, fuck.
That's tough, and obviously we don't know anything really about the situation. We'll figure, see how it evolves and what happens with Evander Kane. But if they don't have Evander Kane, that's a huge loss for this offense. A team that fell off a cliff last season from making the playoffs in 20 consecutive years or whatever it was, to not even making the qualifiers. And I would talk about two things with this team. Goaltending. Goaltending is so important. And they went out and they got Devin Dubnik, who had a really bad year. Martin Jones is, I don't think, an NHL goaltender anymore, but his contract says he is.
Neither do I.
If Devin Dubnik can regain...
I always thought he was a backup.
Yeah, I thought he was a very good backup too. He's had 2 straight years with sub 900 save percentages. He's struggling really mightily. I don't know if he can maybe turn it around, but I think this is what he is at this point, unfortunately for him. Devin Dubnik, I know, had some personal problems last year, which may have affected his play in net, and that's why he had such a bad year. But Devin Dubnik isn't a terrible goaltender, historically. He's not an all-star. He's not the best in the world. He's a solid goaltender. I think the San Jose Sharks can get league average goaltending I said this last year, but league average goaltending, they're competitive. Even without Evander Kane, they're competitive. And the second thing I want to mention is they have this weird. Everyone says they're old. They're too old. They're aging. They're done. I don't know if that's necessarily true. Looking at the roster, if you exclude Brent Burns, who's 35, he's a little older, Patrick Marleau at 41, the core offensive part of this roster, I don't think is past its prime at any point. Logan Couture is 31. Maybe he's getting a little older, but he's 31.
I think he might be past his prime now.
Evander Kane's 29. Thomas Hertl is 27. Erik Karlsson is 30. Timo Meier and Kevin Labanc are 25. I think this team still has some young parts to it. There's a couple guys who are a little older.
I see it all in forward, though. I do like, Timo Meier, Thomas Hertl, Labanc, Donato. They do have, the youth in there. But on D, their top three defensemen, Karlsson, Burns, and Vlasic, they're on the, the second half of their career. They're not getting any better. You've seen the best from all three of them.
I don't know.
Entire careers, probably.
I'll agree with you
for a long time, and I saw the ankle injury. I've seen how he plays, and it's just, he's going to have a better season than he did last year, in my opinion. But he's not going to be any better than he was like 3 or 4 years ago.
No, I don't think Erik Karlsson is going to be a point per game defenseman anymore.
And then they don't have like a top pairing D now, and then it's just these guys who might be be facing injury as they get older now too. And I don't see any youth on their D, and that's the big red flag for me, especially if they have red flags in goaltending.
Yeah, and the unfortunate part for San Jose,
perfect storm.
Unfortunate part for San Jose that you benefited from in Ottawa is they were so bad, but they didn't have a pick last year.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't get Jake Sanderson to be the next big defensive player. So,
and honestly, I think Jake Sanderson would have been on this roster.
Could have been
had he been picked by San Jose.
Could have been
Sanderson, Eriksson, Sanderson, Karlsson, Burns, Vlasic. Like there you go. Add such youth and you have explosion of energy onto your D core, and you can. But they didn't get it, and that's the price you pay.
Yeah, and they have Ryan Merkley in their depth chart, but I don't know if he's going to be the next big guy. He might have some
and I know
upside.
they also waived Nick Milosh too, Nicholas Milosh.
So did that guy, yeah.
Yeah, like they're the D that they do have off the roster. It's like they're not looking like they're going to be top quality NHL top pairing kind of guys.
Anyway, we'll see. We'll see with this team. We'll move on from them. I think they have a little bit of fight left in them. I don't think they're going to be last this year, but we'll get to the predictions. Anaheim Ducks. Missed the qualifiers. Another team in this division to have missed the qualifiers. Were 29, 33, and 9 last year. 26th in goals for, 29th in goals against. Another team, like San Jose, that kind of did nothing. They brought in Kevin Shattenkirk, and they brought in Derek Grant. Or brought back Derek Grant.
Yeah, after they traded away, after they signed him, after they traded it for him, after they signed him. He's had a bit of a journey in Anaheim, Derek Grant.
Biggest departures, Eric Branson, Michael Del Zotto. Not a lot of change, not a lot of turnover.
They didn't do a lot in the off season, but they did add Sonny Milano and Danton Heinen in the trade deadline last season. I think that they were both really good additions. They really both fit well in Anaheim, and so I'd like to see them get full seasons.
I would as well. I think this team has just got to wait it out. They just got to wait it out, man. They're going to get... I looked at their cap-friendly page yesterday. They have a lot of money coming off the books next season. They got Getzlau's 8.2. Now, even if they bring him back, he's not getting 8.2 anymore. David Backes is 4.5 is coming off. And Corey Perry's contract buyout is going from 6.6 into the 2s. So they're going to have $10+ million to throw around next offseason. And they got some guys. They got some kids.
Yeah, they have the depth on forward, I think. It's the elite scoring that, like, the Getzlaf Perry, ever since that they declined and left, or Perry left, Getzlaf kind of declined. They haven't been able to replicate that top six, like elite scoring. That if they can get that, if they can sign someone with that money to fill that role, they've completed their team because they've always had an issue with scoring, since their decline. And that's it. You just add some scoring and be huge. You could see a huge turnaround in like 2 seasons for Anaheim.
Yeah, and a guy who kind of shined really really bright in the World Juniors, Trevor Zegras.
Yeah.
Is the next big guy in Anaheim, and people are really high on him. And they just need to wait. The Anaheim just needs to get through another season, maybe 2, before some of these guys start to come through. They drafted Jamie Drysdale last year, Jacob Perreault. They have guys coming. They have kids coming. Anaheim's not going to be that great this year. They're going to struggle to score goals again. They're going to struggle a little bit to keep the puck out of the net unless John Gibson absolutely carries his team, which I think he has a possibility to do.
He's going to be asked to play a lot for sure.
But this team is rebuilding. This team is in full rebuild mode, and the one question I have, Alex, is for you is: do you think they should trade John Gibson to a team who needs a goalie, maybe like San Jose?
Yes, I do.
He's parts.
Too good and too valuable right now. And I think Anaheim, when you compare them to like the rebuilds of like even Ottawa right now, Toronto before, the retool that like New York Rangers have gone through, their rebuilding isn't as good. Like they haven't picked up as many quality names. And I think with for trading John Gibson, the return that they could get back could be that big name or two that like really fills out the roster and says, hey, this rebuild went amazing. Because what good is having an elite level goaltender that you're putting all this pressure on? And in 2-3 years, if you're trying to if you keep him, he might lose his value. He might but be shook a little bit. Now's the time to get something for him. If you're on a losing team, why do you need an elite goaltender? You just need guys like a Devin Dubnik or Cam Talbot, in my opinion, to kind of just play games and maybe lose.
Yeah, I think that's the other John Gibson's a guy that can screw up your rebuild a little bit.
Yeah.
Win a couple games he shouldn't, and all of a sudden you're picking 5th in the draft instead of 2nd, and that can be big. And I know John Gibson's a really good goalie, and they love him in Anaheim. They just signed him that big contract, but I think he's at his peak. He's in his prime right now, and I know goaltending trades are always not as value. You don't get as much value for goaltenders as people think they should, which I think is ridiculous. But
you look at the Matt Murray deal.
Yeah, look at the Matt Murray deal. But
a second and a depth forward who will never make it.
Yeah, so you won't get as much value, but you'll get pieces and you'll get flexibility in being able to lose, and just Anaheim fans they gotta wait this out a little bit. I gotta wait it out.
Anyway. Maybe another defenseman to add to the roster, probably. I think.
Yeah, just kids, pieces.
Yeah.
Guys, they're serviceable and young that you can, bring up with
build around
the next core of this team. Anyway, last team in this division, I believe. Yes.
Yep, last one.
Los Angeles Kings. Another team that missed the qualifiers. All 3 of the California teams missed the qualifiers last year. 29, 35, and 6. 30th in goals for last year. 13th in goals against. Not bad. Key rivals. Biggest rival on this team is Quinn Byfield. Quinn Byfield's going to play. Ollie Mata. Kind of really the only other guy that they brought in.
Yeah.
Departures, you got Ben Hutton, Joakim Ryan, Paul LeDoux. But again, not a lot of turnaround. This team's rebuilding.
In addition and subtraction, you get Turcotte because he is injured. He's going to miss a few. He might miss a few weeks coming in, but he is going to play. But he's not right now. Not right out of the gate.
No, not right out of the gate.
Lower body hip issue or something. And the World Juniors might have fell on his ass funny, hurt his leg.
Yeah, and
something like that.
Their coach, Tom McClellan. Tom McClellan said that this team is going to be competitive. This team is going to be good. I don't know if that's true. I think that's wishful thinking from his coach. Trying to pump up his boys a little bit. This team, the kids are coming. Your young kids are coming, guys. LA fans.
Couldn't agree more.
You had
It's Byfield's first year. You have Turcotte, who's going to be coming in injured. It's going to be a huge struggle for these kids this year, which is going to prepare them for the next year, right? Like, this isn't it, but it's coming.
Yeah, and even if they don't have every young kid, like I have a list of rookies that could make an impact in the next few years. Quentin Byfield, Turcotte, Arthur Kaliev, Tyler Madden, Elias Anderson, which I completely forgot that they picked up. Toby Bjornfot, Jordan Spence, Cale Clegg, Sean Dursey, Gabe Vilardi. They got guys coming. Some are already there. Gabe Vilardi's had a little bit of time.
He was playing last year at the last what 7-10 games or something he played. He was playing amazing. He was
played very well.
Yeah.
And you just got to get through this next little bit. I think in a couple years, this could be one of the best young teams in the league with the guys that they got coming. If Quentin Byfield is what people are expecting him to be, and learning underneath one of the better two-way centers in the league in the last decade, Anze Kopitar. And then you got Jeff Carter and Dustin Brown's contract coming off in a couple years, and all of a sudden you have a little bit of money and you can complement these young players with some more experienced veterans. LA's going to be back, and they had a great run in the mid 2010s, and didn't have a lot of prospect pools as winning teams do, and the last couple years have that it's the price to pay for championship teams.
I think what hurt them is that they won a Stanley Cup in a year that they were like the wild card team, right?
Mm-hmm.
They weren't the best in the league when they were when they won the cup for being like the best in the league, right? Like they were like always maybe viewed a little bit too high, and then they didn't get the the picks they needed to keep improving their team. So it's kind of hard. It's hard to like as a winning team, especially if you're not even really that good, or maybe a little bit inflated a little bit, and you're trying to pick high, and you keep picking low, and you're trying to rebuild, and now all of a sudden your team's Drew Doughty, the Anze Kopitar in their mid-late 30s, and teams on the decline. And you're like, uh-oh. But the rebuild, the retool that they're doing is really great. The kids that they have coming up, like you said, they're all 1-2 years away from making a huge impact, and just got to stick it out.
Yep.
I think they're ahead of the curve in that sense of Anaheim. Their rebuild.
Yeah, I think they're a couple years ahead of Anaheim. They'll be better first, I think. And San Jose is the only one of the California teams that's hanging on to the last decade a little bit. But once they get there, they'll be rebuilding as well, or retooling. Okay. Final predictions. We'll go bottom up like we did last video.
All right.
Who do you got at number 8, Alex?
San Jose Sharks. I see it just bottom out, failing, and like Burns not pulling it together, Vlasic being too old. Maybe Carlson has an improved season, but that being your only D in the whole team, and your forwards always looking for Kane, who isn't there, and just collapsing. I see that team. If you thought they fell apart last year, I see it falling apart even harder this year.
Interesting.
What about you?
I got Anaheim at 8. They're the least put together team here. They still got a couple guys. They got a couple guys on D. They have, John Gibson in that, but I don't think they have a very competitive team right now, especially in this division, which is really top heavy. I don't think they can. I don't think they're going to be able to compete that much with Arizona, LA, San Jose, and Minnesota, which are the best of the rest. I think Anaheim will be last.
Mm-hmm.
Who you got for 7?
Yeah, 7. I had Arizona.
I had Arizona too.
I don't think they have anything going for them, and they didn't make any changes, and they're just going to be in the same, bottoming out spot that they were last year. Like, okay.
Yeah, I think like Anaheim, they're going to have a little bit of goaltending, a little bit of defense, but who's scoring your goals, man? Who's scoring for this team?
It's not coming. And like I can almost see like the Oliver Ekman-Larsson, like not OEL.
Yeah.
Yeah. for like maybe a trade for him. Like if
He asked
being
for a
like,
trade.
look, this is right. Like if they make it work, I could see them like losing even more games because their number one D is gone. Say we both have them at 7th.
Right.
We have at 6.
I got San Jose at 6.
I have Anaheim at 6th. That's funny. We
Yeah.
swapped Anaheim and San Jose.
So we swapped Anaheim and San Jose. I think San Jose. Look, even if Evander Kane figures it out, he's able to play this year. I don't think they're quite where they need to be, especially on the back end and goaltending. I don't know if Devin Dubnik is the answer, guys. And I don't know. I think they're gonna struggle. I think they
I know he
could.
isn't.
They could have. They have the ability to kind of rally something together and sneak into 4th. There's an outside chance of that happening. But I just don't see it happening.
And I have Anaheim there because John Gibson.
Yep.
That's it. That's really it. I think they could, even with Guley coming back in 6 weeks, that won't fill the hole in their D. They don't really have much going for them. Not a lot of scoring. Some forward depth I do like, but it's just John Gibson. I think he's going to win them a few games and keep them from the bottom. That's it.
Yep. I think the bottom half of this division is gonna struggle a little bit. Who you got at 5?
This is a tough one for me, and I'm almost mad that I put them here because of who's above them. I have LA Kings at 5.
I have the LA Kings at 5 as well.
Yeah.
Probably the same
I
reasons.
think this is going to be a huge struggle. I really like what they have going for them, but it's just this isn't their year.
No.
Next year,
Not yet. Not yet.
Next year, they might even break that top 3 next year, but not this year.
Yeah, and I had LA a little lower when I first started my rankings. I kind of moved them up slowly after seeing their roster composition. I think LA could do a little bit of damage, especially in this, the bottom half of this group. I think they're probably the best team out of the non-playoff teams, obviously. I have them at 5th, but I think they're just the most kind of together team right now. Anyway, number 4.
I think we both agree then on 4 for Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota's at 4. I think Minnesota's not done yet. I think it's like they better watch it. And I think they're going to sneak into this.
Really even middling team. They don't have any who's their lead goal scorer? Can you tell me? You're not sure, right?
Parise.
Like, yeah, right.
I don't know.
Right, right. Who's going to? It's tough. So they have. I feel like they have good second and third line, forwards. They have good 2 really good second pairing D, pairs. They just don't have that elite talent, but they do have a really well-rounded middling kind of team, which is enough in this division to be break you into a playoff spot.
Yeah, and something we didn't mention while we were going over them is Kevin Fiala had an absolute crazy end to the regular season.
Neither of us saw that coming.
Yeah, and he was traded from Nashville. He's 24 years old. He's kind of developing into a solid second line scoring forward. It'd be interesting to see if he can keep up his pace from the end of last year. I think he had 25 points in 18 games to end the year or something. It was crazy. All right, this is where the meat is. Actually, can we?
Those were the top 3. Yeah.
Before we go to 3, can we agree that whoever is 1 is just gonna wipe the floor with Minnesota in the playoffs? Because I can. I don't think it's gonna be close.
Oh my god.
Number 3, who do you got at 3? This is where
it'll be like the qualifier. We're watching Colorado, and Arizona. It'll be something like that.
Yeah. Who do you got at 3?
I have at 3. I have a St. Louis Blues.
I do as well. I have the St. Louis Blues at 3.
I don't think the additions they made make up for their losses, especially with Tarasenko out right now. That is just a big kicker. And the goalie issue too.
Yep, it's I think they're the least complete team out of these top 3. They just did win the cup, so maybe they put a little bit of run together. They still have big names on that team. They still got Ryan O'Reilly. They still got David Perron. They got Torrey Krug coming in. Maybe he does something offensively because he may not bring the same game that Pietrangelo brings, but I still think he can bring some offensive ability, some power play ability. Maybe not the best at 5-on-5.
He might score more goals and points than Pietrangelo did.
Yeah, but he's nowhere what value that he brought to St. Louis as Pietrangelo did. Anyway, I kind of predict we're going to have a similar division here. It's not so much like last division with the North.
The North, yeah.
I got Vegas at 2.
Vegas at 2 as well.
which means we both have Colorado at 1.
Yeah, at Colorado at 1.
Exact same playoffs for us. I think this division is so top heavy, but Vegas and Colorado, I could see Vegas winning this division.
Yeah, it's a tough one too.
It's a tough 1-2. I think St. Louis is a hard 3 for me, but 1-2 could flip either way. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Especially with Pietrangelo, depending on the impact that he makes. If it's immediate and, it shows and he's just eating up 29, 30 minutes a game and he's not letting any shots on net and they're just a defensive phenom and they come out swinging, I could see them really shutting down Colorado's Avalanche even, in the games that they play against each other. So Vegas maybe takes the number 1 in the division, but similarly for Colorado, I can see them coming out with high offense and just taking it on every team and
yeah, they kind of they're
themselves.
they're funny representations of each other. Like Vegas has the elite goaltending duo. Colorado is maybe a step behind. Colorado has Nathan McKinnon and Mikko Rantanen and Gabe Landeskog offensive firepower. Vegas doesn't have the same kind of top end talent on their forward group. They have Mark Stone, they got Max Pacioretty, but they don't have
Cody Glass, who knows
a Nate McKinnon
Glass
kind of thing,
right?
become. So they're interesting complements to each other, and if they play in the finals to get out of this division, that's going to be a wonderful series if they're both at full strength.
Because we know they're going to face each other a bunch in the same division too, not only just in the playoffs. It'd be great to see them in the playoffs. So watching them play 8-9 times against each other, that's also going to be a huge gem because the two powerhouse teams head on that many times. It's great.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun matchup to watch, fun division to watch. Not even because it's so top heavy, but those teams in the bottom half playing each other. I don't know what's going to happen with those guys.
And they're all fighting for the bottom, but also the chance for a playoff spot. You could be that close to a top 5 draft pick or a spot in the playoffs. And for those teams, that could be really interesting to see how they swing at the trade deadline.
Anyway, that's it. That's our final prediction for this video. For the Honda West division.
Honda West.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Really helps us out. And we're going to get some more hockey content this season. It's going to be a great season. I'm so pumped. It's just over 24 hours away for us when shooting this video. And can't wait to get started. And let us know who you think in the comments down below what your ranking is. Let us know what you rank this division as. If you agree with us, if you disagree with us. That's it.